Hello, Timothy LeGendre, CPA here in Florida. Just do another video for my bookkeeping series. Just kind of, state of affairs, kind of, make a video on where things are right now and what I offer and what I do, and why work with me. Why choose me over someone else? Yeah, I have CPA, I have licenses, I have, education, I've got degrees, I've got 5 degrees, I've got a lot of the experience, I've got a lot of the time, I've got a lot of the passion for books and financials, and just the overall amount of time that I put into what I've done over the last 10, 11 years. And then over the last 5 years, really, honing in on tax and learning tax, combining a lot of the, tax strategy with the books and the financials, and then just kind of, just filling in any little gaps that I got. And but I wanted to touch on mainly just the price. There's a way to really look at this from a point of view of just numbers, right? We're talking about books, we're talking about records, we're talking about accounting. Why not just talk about it from a numbers perspective instead of kind of qualitative things and experience and passion, etc. But okay, so I've got over the last 5 years, I've seen and come across a lot of different types of flavors of bookkeeping and accounting, and the way that people keep their records and who they hire and what they do. I've seen it anywhere from the kind of Facebook brand new bookkeeping, QuickBooks power user, QuickBooks guru that costs a couple $100, and they tout all their QuickBooks financials. Credit credentials and stuff that you get like one day from QuickBooks, and I've seen their books, and they're just I would just stay away from them because you're really just you're creating more work for yourself, and you're wasting money on someone that isn't really going to do what you need to do. And I've talked to the people that have done QuickBooks for like 17 years, and about how maybe 17 years ago it was a decent piece of software when it was kind of like desktop only, and there was a way to really do QuickBooks, and it was actually about accounting back then. But now with QuickBooks Online and all the different bells and whistles and everything like that, that even the real kind of just OGs of the QuickBooks world are saying like how frustrating it is now to try to do QuickBooks and try to actually do proper accounting and stuff. So I'm not saying that they're not out there. Someone that can actually do your books for a decent price, because I'm one of those. But in terms of paying someone a couple of months to do your books, that you met online on a Facebook post or something like that, or a lot of these different kind of just fly by night people. That's just not a good one. The next one are I've seen like the part timers, where you bring someone in, you pay them maybe $25,000 a year, you give them benefits, you put them on payroll, and they work 15, 20 hours in your business a week, and they handle your QuickBooks. And there's nothing really wrong with that, but the problem is that those type of people are usually doing other things for you, which is what you most likely need, like chasing down invoices, calling vendors, making sure that there's just kind of like receipts, and just like your basic day-to-day kind of housekeeping, administrative work to kind of supplement the books. But then that person's also handling the books, but they don't know tax and they don't know accounting. Because let's be honest with you, like right now in the accounting world, CPAs are leaving 9 to 1. So for every 9 CPAs that leave, there's 1 CPA coming into the industry. So the people that are really have studied accounting over the last 20 years, it's just diminished. It's I don't want to say it's a dying art. I mean, it'll be around forever, but there's just a less and less amount of people that are doing it. So someone that is really an expert in accounting that has 20,000 hours of experience is not going to come in and work part-time for 10, 15 hours a week and do your books with the right, type of strategy and mindset. So I've come across those, and it's the same thing as I've come across these part-timers, and they're the same as just kind of outsourcing it for a couple $100 a month. It just doesn't get you there. It just doesn't do what you really want it to do, or what you think it's doing. Now, I'm not saying that this part-timer isn't really helping you with a lot of like admin duties and calls and tracking down invoices and stuff like that. That is a benefit, but it's not really worth it if you also just try to throw bookkeeping on top of it. And then moving on to like the actual in-house bookkeepers, the people that say that they know accounting, or they really claim to know QuickBooks. I've seen them being paid as much as $75,000 a year, on payroll with sick time and everything like that. And I've seen their books too. And what usually happens is that you push back, or you challenge this in-house bookkeeper on, a lot of the different accounts on their chart of accounts, and on the balance sheet, and why are there certain things on the profit and loss, and what happens is that it ends up with like this kind of like stalemate where that person is trying to justify their job to the boss and the owner of the business that is wanting to do a proper tax planning and strategy, and they have no idea that their books weren't really done right. So then now you're in this weird situation where you're trying to this person's trying to justify their job. They call themselves a CFO of your company or something. They don't really know what they don't know, and then then the owner wants you to basically educate them for free on the way that they actually should be doing the books. But then it's listen, you shouldn't even really be paying this person, especially this type of amount. And you got negative credit cards. You have assets on the books that you haven't had we're 20 years old, that we disposed of on a tax return. So not to harp on these people, I'm not saying that they're all bad, but usually what happens is they get you most of the way there, but there's just this gap, and that gap really creates a lot of friction, and a lot of friction when it comes to tax time, because I've seen these people take 5-6 months in the following year to finish the books, and it's like, well, wait a minute, the book should be done essentially December 31st. That's the cutoff. I understand making adjustments, tying them out, doing the proper accounting cycle close, making sure that anything, mid-month January is recorded if it, you happen to miss it or whatever. But there's no way that an in-house bookkeeper being paid this type of amount should be trying to figure out last year's books in April, May, June, July. And I've seen it time and time again. So another way is you can hire a CPA firm. They'll usually bill you a kind of a flat rate or an hourly rate, and then what they do is they just send it overseas or down south. I don't know. I would say probably 5 to 10 emails a week as a CPA. I get 5 to 10 emails a week offering to sub out my bookkeeping to Brazil, Argentina, overseas to not Ukraine, but India, Philippines, so Egypt. Regardless, that's what's usually happening when you hire a CPA firm to do your books, or they have a junior staff or a staff basically kind of spearheading the books, and then that person tries to review what's sent overseas, which I guess is one little layer better. But for the most part, I've seen a lot of CPAs that don't want to really get into that, and so that they do things like that, or they try to sub it out to these type of people, the $200 a month people, or just whatever. Or they go tell you to hire someone in house, and they don't give you any indication. So what I'm doing is trying to do things just completely different. I'm trying to to provide something to the marketplace, provide something to the business owners out there that's just different. I built my own bookkeeping and accounting software, hooks through Stripe, Square, Plaid for 13,000 institutions and loans. Almost no matter what bank or credit union you have. I have Mercury direct integration. I'm working on Gusto. I have JobTread, and so on. So, and I also can backwards compatible with QuickBooks Online. So I've built that to then build out my experience into a piece of software on my end that knows how to keep the proper chart of accounts, that keeps the balance sheet correct, that does the right rules and the right rule expressions. And then also I've built in a lot of different tools to point out automatically a lot of things, for transactions. So for instance, let's say that Amazon gets posted to cost of goods, and then all of a sudden Amazon gets posted to, office supplies. My software is going to alert me, because I built that in there, to say, hey, do you really want this in 2 different categories? I also have some automatic, loan reconciliation that I do for auto loans and stuff. That way I can kind of properly post the interest and principal throughout the year. And by building this out, it saved me time. So by me saving time, I don't have to ship it out of seas to make pennies on the dollar, and I don't have to, tell you to go hire someone else. I can actually do your books, and then I can do your books for a reasonable and fair price and give you a lot of value, because now you have the CPA that's doing your tax returns actually in the books, actually sending your reports, doing videos, looking at your numbers, and then keeping track of that, taxable income throughout the year. So the value that's added on top of that is just it's kind of hard to quantify, because these people here are not doing that. They're not telling you tax advice. They're not actually even fully even doing the books the correct way. So then by doing the books the correct way and then offering tax advice and stuff on top of that, like that's where the savings and the time and everything really comes into place, because you're going to then go back into your business and make money in the things that you're good at making money at, and you're not going to focus on trying to do QuickBooks yourself, or track down this 15 hour 20 hour a week employee, or your full-time hire, or a CPA that, to be honest with you, they're not looking at your books. If it's overseas, it's out of sight, out of mind for them too. So I just wanted to basically touch on this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I just wanted to basically say that there are different options out there, but I've built a system and a process and a software to put in place that I'm able to offer a very reasonable price and build a lot of value on top of that you're not going to get in some other options. So that's all. If you have any questions, send me an email, tim@timcpa.com. Visit my website. There's a free pricing calculator on there. You don't join any newsletters or anything like that. There's no advertising or monthly spam or anything like that. It's just see what it would possibly cost you based off the complexity of your business. But if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.